On today's episode of Chronicles of a Nigerian Woman, I'll be reading Olayemi's story. Hello and welcome. My name is Fagbeja and I am your host. Take a listen. I am not a conventional woman, and this has earned me a lot of disapproval and criticism from both my loved ones and strangers alike. Well, it is my choice to be as I am, and I am already living with the consequences of my decisions. I was always different from my siblings. I am the middle child of 3 children, and my older sister and younger brother were very close. There was only 1 year between each of us, so we weren't too far apart in age anyway. My parents were both academics, so we grew up on a university campus. I was the egghead of the 3 of us. I was always reading or studying something. I got very interested in psychology and the study of human behavior at a very young age. I think I was 8 or 9 when I took one of my father's psychology textbooks and read it from cover to cover in 3 months. The things that interested other children never interested me. I did not like TV or playing games, etc. I didn't like domestic work either, even though every one of us was assigned our chores. I never learned to cook because I genuinely was not interested. My mother assigned cooking to me a few times, but gave up when no one could eat the food because I always made a mess of it. To be honest, I never put any effort into it, so I wasn't surprised at the outcomes. I didn't eat much anyway, so I didn't really care about food. My mother made it a point of duty to remind me all the time about how I would not find a husband to marry if I kept up my behavior. If only she knew that I never planned to get married. Maybe she would have realized that her speeches were no threat to me. Instead, they had the opposite effect of strengthening my resolve. In retrospect, I realized I must have been a very difficult child, but all I wanted at the time was to be left to myself. I was extremely introverted, seldom smiled or joked or interacted with others, even in school. As I grew into my late teens, it wasn't a surprise to me that no boys showed any interest in me because I never allowed anyone close enough. My parents were very liberal and they encouraged us to bring our friends home, even when we were in primary school. At 13, my sister brought her first boyfriend home. My parents coached both he and my sister about keeping their relationship healthy and safe and about the dangers of premarital sex, but they didn't stop them from dating. When I was finishing secondary school at the age of 17, my mother kept trying to tease me about boys, but I guess she eventually realized that I wasn't interested. It became a source of concern for my parents when I finished university at the age of 22 and still hadn't brought anyone home. They called me for a private talk, and that was when I told them I did not plan to get married. They said I would eventually come around because ultimately no one wanted to be lonely. I had learned a long time before that not to argue, but to communicate my ideas by action. By the time I turned 30, both of my siblings were married and I still had not brought anyone home. I had left Ilorin for Lagos where I was lecturing in the Lagos State University. I think that was when they really became worried. I simply reminded them of what I had earlier told them. My father told my mom to let me be, but she wasn't having any of it. She tried to link me up with several men and got angry when I didn't keep appointments or respond to them. There were no mobile phones at the time, so accessibility was far less reduced, and I used that to my advantage. I indulged a couple of them, but once we met or spoke for the first time, they didn't bother to contact me again because I made it a point to let them know that I did not cook or do domestic duties at all, and I did not like children. I knew it would turn them off, and I got the exact outcome I wanted. That is my life in summary. I am now 59 years old. I have neither been married nor had sex, and I am not interested at all. I have lived alone since the age of 26. I do not cook, clean, or wash. I buy my meals in disposable packs or I eat at restaurants. I have someone who comes in to clean my house twice a week because I like my house to be clean and tidy at all times. I take my clothes to laundry services to get them washed. I do not entertain visitors, and I barely have any friends beyond the official relationships I keep with colleagues and other academics I meet. My parents gave up trying to change me a long time before they passed on, and my siblings and I barely speak except it is extremely necessary. Of course, I care about my siblings, but there is not much for me to say to warrant speaking with them often. I am not unhappy, but I realize that it is not safe for me to be alone, especially as I get older. However, I have made my bed and I will have to continue to lay on it this way. I always choose to live within estates or in places where someone will notice if anything goes wrong. I know I appear strange to others, but this is who I am. What do you think about Olayemi and her choice? I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and do turn on the notifications so you don't miss my next story.